Now, I have to tell you, those young kids out there, it is so important to wear earmuffs because the ringing that goes on in my ears now that I'm older sucks.
Mm.
So I'm telling you. Todd, how are
Joe,
you, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Situation today is job site safety.
Job
Is that what we're
site
going to talk
safety.
about today?
Job
Safety.
site safety.
Safety first.
Safety
Safety
third.
first.
Safety
All
third.
right.
Mike
All
Rowe
right.
says safety third.
Yeah. Is that what he says?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's first and second?
I don't know. You have to ask him. I forget.
Yeah, I don't know either.
When we have him on the show, we'll ask him.
Yeah. Is there anything specific that you can think of when we say job site safety?
I don't know if I have anything specific.
What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Well, yeah, it's a good question. The first thing that comes to my mind always is electricity, to be honest.
Electricity.
Yeah,
Okay.
just in terms of, because
What
it's just
about
the
it?
easiest things as far as turning a circuit off when you're working on something, right? Like testing something
Yeah,
to make
sure.
sure that that circuit is off. Things of that nature that are just very basic, very remedial.
Yeah.
Don't electrocute yourself on a project, right?
Yeah.
Doing what we do when you're talking interior remodeling, I'm not going to tackle, roof safety and, harnesses and fall prevention.
Sure.
And so OSHA can stay out of this conversation as far as I'm concerned, but
or L&I from over on this side of the country.
Oh, okay. Is that your OSHA? LNI?
Yeah.
Yeah.
L and I. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All
right. I wanted to stay on that topic. You brought up a very interesting point. Electricity. One example that we had happen is what not to do when you're trying to figure out a circuit. And you're like, oh, I'm in this circuit. You said, well, I should turn off the circuit, right? Well, what if I don't know what the circuit is?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You know, you go to the panel.
Circuit?
Yeah, you go to the, well, okay, I'm replacing the outlet. Something simple, right? Okay, well, let's turn that circuit off.
Right.
I don't know which circuit in the panel it is. So I go to the panel, open the panel. There's 20 different breakers and none of them are labeled.
Are you implying that not every electrical panel is properly labeled?
I am implying that this might happen to you.
Yeah.
So what not to do is to trip the breaker on purpose. Many people do it out there. I know it happens. I know you're like, oh, well, let's just trip the breaker, which means, they're just taking the black and white wire and touching them. So you get a little spark and it'll pop the breaker, right? And then you run over to the breaker and you see, or the panel, and you can see which breakers. Okay.
Yeah.
So an employee coworker had done that.
Okay.
And it blew up the TV on that circuit.
No.
That was plugged into another outlet. Yep.
Really?
So just warning you that
that's not
you should not do that. Not the best way. Yeah. Ended up having to buy a new TV for the homeowners.
Oh, that's awesome.
Not good. So don't do it. All right. So you brought up a very good touchy subject there.
Yeah. They do make equipment so you can trace a circuit. These do exist.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
I'm still electricians usually, and sometimes I just plug a radio in and wait for it to go off when I'm flipping every circuit in the house.
Yeah. I tell my whoever's helping me, I go over there and I say, okay, touch these two wires and you feel the buzz. All right, I'm going to go and turn off the breakers. Let me know when the buzz that you're feeling stops. No, don't do that either. That's not a good one either.
It's effective.
But yeah, it's effective. A lot of times you don't even have, so a cheap, quick way of doing it is usually you can determine there's a handful of breakers and I'm like, it's probably one of these. And then I'll go back and I have those cheap testers
Sure.
that make a beeping noise, and you can just stick that right into the outlet, and then it goes beep, 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 and then it's just making a bunch of noise. So then I could walk over, I could hear it,
Yeah.
and I can just turn off the one or two until it goes off.
Right.
So if you don't have one of those tracers, now electrician, let's all say that if you're working on electricity, you should hire
licensed and insured electrician.
a licensed electrician.
Absolutely.
Blah blah blah.
In reality.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes.
But
should you? Yes. In reality, if you're doing something, you're not gonna call your electrician every single time. Like, to your point, if you're changing an outlet, you're not gonna call your electrician. Or maybe you are.
Right. But you should. You should.
You should.
But
just they might find other things
FYI,
while they're there.
That yeah. So yeah. So it's funny, electric goes straight to you. I was more practical. The first thing that came to my mind is like shoes and like clothing.
Oh, okay.
That kind of thing. You know, one little thing that always got me was hoodies. I love hoodies, and now that I've moved to the Pacific Northwest, hoodies is the accepted formal attire for any event. No matter how
nice.
How fancy the event might be, a hoodie is always acceptable.
Okay, good.
It's kind of weird. However, what I always done when I wore hoodies on my job sites is I would take the strings out of the hood.
Okay.
How many times that you see it on the internet, you've seen it before where people wore like neckties and stuff, and then the necktie would get stuck in. I mean, how many horror movies have you seen?
Yeah.
Where the necktie gets stuck and then, you know, the saw cuts your head off. Like, right? So the hood strings, just like, I just kept envisioning that my strings would get like sucked and pull my head down. And
that's what's going to do you in one day, is the hoodie strings.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't
anyone
think,
out there wearing
I don't think that's completely irrational. So yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I don't think so.
Shoes. I have a question for you. Do you require or ask your employees to wear like steel toes?
No.
So in the beginning I did. When I first started my company, I did. I went out and I bought the composite ones.
Yeah.
Was better, but man, like tile work, I'm like, those steel toes are beating the hell out of the floors and everything that I'm doing, and killing my toes and all the things. So I know we're supposed to wear those. Nobody does. It's ridiculous. We don't require it. I don't require it.
Yeah.
No, it's impractical.
Yeah, I agree. When first getting into this, I did the same thing. When I first got into the industry, first pair of boots I bought were absolutely steel toe boots, and I think I got even a second pair, and then after that, I was done with them. I was done with them.
Yeah,
so,
me too. Yeah. Yep, totally.
If you start to think about this, I think there's quite a few facets of just job site safety and overall safety. I wouldn't even have thought of the clothing, so that's certainly a good point. Yeah, I wouldn't even have thought of that. But any loose articles of clothing getting caught up on something. The one time I've ever seen someone cut themselves on a table saw was because he had thick winter gloves on, running something through a table saw, and his glove.
Oh.
Yeah, his glove there was something, I don't know if it was just the glove itself or like, the little clips to clip them together, or something got hung up, and sure enough pulled his tip of his finger right into the saw. And it was the dead of winter, of course, obviously wearing thick gloves, and you just saw a trail of blood of him run into the truck and drive himself to the hospital. Yeah. So yeah, loose
that's why you're not. That's why you're not supposed to work during the winter in the Midwest. You just take the winter off.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So many of those things, like necklaces.
necklaces. Yeah.
like really long ones, especially those things could get caught into a saw or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even overall, I guess even overall job site safety, just the number of people on a project, right? Like it's
Sure.
not safe to have
Sure. Especially if you're working in a bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah. A kitchen, you're doing a bathroom and you get the electrician and the plumber in there at the same time, it's going to be World War III.
Yeah. How about it?
Yeah. Is there anything else about clothing since we're on that silly topic of clothing? Yeah, I don't think so. Gloves is a big thing. I've managed to just teach myself and learn and just be really comfortable with one specific pair of gloves.
Yeah.
And I've worn them so much that like it really feels awkward to not wear them doing pretty much anything.
Oh, okay.
So you saw me wearing gloves all the time. Those are the pair of gloves that I can't really do much of anything without them.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is a benefit because I am now so comfortable with them that I can't. There's no real loss of dexterity,
Okay.
just because I'm just so used to them that I don't feel though. I don't feel as though it's limiting in any way at all. So
interesting.
And they protect my pretty little hands.
Yeah. I wear gloves for about demo and that's it.
Yeah. So
and I never do demo anymore, so I don't wear gloves.
Yeah, I think you should be wearing gloves, but I think everyone should be wearing gloves, but it dependent on exactly what you're doing and then how comfortable you are at them. It's fair to say that if you're not comfortable with what you're doing, like you shouldn't be doing it. And if you can't do it safely, don't do it at all. But I remember when we first started, I didn't have gloves, no safety glasses, air muffs, anything. Now, I have to tell you, those young kids out there, it is so important to wear ear muffs because the ringing that goes on in my ears now that I'm older sucks.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm telling you.
Yeah, you got a touch of the tinnitus, do you?
Yeah, now, if anything that I'm doing now, I'm always looking to throw my earmuffs on. And not only that, it ends up becoming a more comfortable work environment because nothing's like screaming in my ears. Yeah, you have the cumbersome of wearing them, but once you get through that,
yeah. I agree with you 100% on the earmuffs. I'm all about the earmuffs.
Yeah.
The
glasses, safety glasses. Obviously, I can't. A matter of fact, I had to run myself to the eye doctor probably like 4 or 5 months ago because I got a little something stuck in my eye when I was grinding a piece of metal. And it was my own stupid fault. So safety glasses for sure. You should be. It's just like it's always those times when you think that I'm just gonna do this one thing really quick. Like I don't need to go hunt down all the things that that you should be doing and wearing.
Yeah.
But you're just gonna do this really quick, right? And that's when you're gonna get hurt.
Yep.
And when you're young and 20 some years old, you're invincible and you don't care. And even if you did get hurt, you're going to bounce back pretty quickly. That injury will come back and haunt you in your 40s. I'm just telling you that right now.
Sure.
Agreed? Yeah, 100%. Oh, yeah.
I had guys tell me that when I started in this industry in 21. And I had guys telling me, wear your knee pads or put something down when you're kneeling to work on the ground. Put your eyeglasses on, put something on. And it was just like, yeah. I'm 21 and indestructible.
It doesn't hurt to kneel down when you're 20.
No.
Yeah. Well, all those times that you knelt down, you're going to feel them every time you kneel down when you're in your 40s. And it's not because it's 40. It's because you did all that kneeling and beating yourself up when you were in your 20s. That's how it works.
Sure.
So Get over it. And,
I will say the two younger guys that work for me, they both have earmuffs on all the time. But that's also because of the Bluetooth connectivity, right? They want to listen to
yeah,
their
see,
own
they didn't
music
have
or their
that
own
when we were younger.
podcasts or
Yeah.
whatever while they're
Yeah.
working. And
Yeah.
I told them I'm okay with that. That's fine. Just number one, keep it at a reasonable volume and kind of gauge that so that if there's other people, first, primarily if there's other people working in the area, that you can hear them, right? So if someone's working behind you and something's going wrong, you don't need to be in La La Land because you're blasting Metallica in your fucking Bluetooth. Like, you should be able to hear that something is wrong behind you. Or
Right.
even if a client, because a lot of times the homeowners are there when we're with the projects we're doing, you should be able to hear them if they walk in the room and say, "Hey, Joe," and they don't have to yell at you or tap you on the shoulder. So keep it at a reasonable volume, but I'm glad that they're both wearing it, you know?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if they're blasting Metallica, then they're defeating the whole purpose of wearing them earmuffs. They might as well take the earmuffs off. You're probably better off listening to the loud saw than you are to the loud music in your ears. So
it's probably true.
They're not there for you to blast music and loud music into your ears. They're meant to keep the loud noises out.
It looks good, right?
Yeah,
Looks like
sure.
they care about their tinnitus prevention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So definitely protect your ears and eyeballs for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. It's respirators. That's a pain in the butt. Like, they are bulky and you got to get the straps around your head, and how difficult and ridiculous when you got the respirator on your face, you got the safety goggles that now are like sitting up a little bit, and then all the moisture from your freaking respirator is getting up into your glasses, and then you got the headphones on or the earmuffs on, right? So the earmuffs now, and then like they have to fit, then the earmuffs got to sit on top of the safety goggles, so the safety goggles now like open up the little bit of the.
Yeah.
So then you got a little bit of noise going on in there, and you're like, what the hell is the purpose?
Right.
It's frustrating as all hell.
Very frustrating. I agree. Sometimes you're better off in like one of those outbreak suits, like the Ebola, just put a whole contained unit on there. But, because you're right. It has to be done in the right order. It's got to be done in the right order.
You do, and then it has to be taken off in the right order.
Yeah.
So, what a pain in the butt. What a pain in the butt. But those respirators are key. How many times you come home and have to clean out your nose? That's disgusting. And you know that all that's in your lungs. Not good. Not good, people.
No.
And and thank goodness they're getting on that asbestos and lead stuff, because, we didn't do any of that when we were younger.
Nope.
We just, demo that, sure.
Yeah.
It's coming out of a 1909 house, sure. Whatever.
Yeah. I mean,
with no respirators, no nothing, no safety stuff, whatever.
Or even like
just not knowing.
Sure. Not knowing, just being or you put the chintzy little paper mask on and thought that was effective,
Oh, sure.
Or like or the guys that'll just put a bandana drape a bandana over
their face. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure this works.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. And it's I've thought about even just not working on any houses older than us. I mean, we're that 1979 age, right? So they stopped using asbestos and lead right around those times. So, I think they say
78.
Yeah. Anything pre 1978 should be tested for lead. So, yeah, if it's older than us, don't work on it. And if you are going to work on it, you best make sure you're getting things tested if there's suspect for lead or asbestos, and taking the proper precautions throughout the project.
That's all built into our design plan. So once we get through schematics, we immediately go and get an old house tested. Okay. Because that's going to affect everything from here on out. Like, wait, do we have to abate, or can we just poke holes everywhere? I mean, because an electrician's going to come in and make Swiss cheese of your walls and ceilings because that's what they do.
Yep.
And if it's asbestos, then I'm more than likely just going to have to rip the whole thing down because the electrician's not going to be able to cut any holes anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that just brings a whole slew of problems, which is one that I'm working on right now. Is we have a very old house and all of the trim is original to the house and it's very ornate and nothing exists anymore. And we're working on trying to get knives made for every little thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the question is coming up where we haven't got it tested yet. Are we going to have to remove all of that? Because the homeowner wants to keep all the existing trim. I don't blame you. I do too. However, how am I going to update all the electric in the kitchen, not take down all of the casing and lentils and trim work and everything around the windows and the doors?
Right.
And abate the walls at the same time. So the question is, well, do we just abate like pieces or make our own holes and, hope that those holes are good enough for the electricians and everything to be used and then try to patch everything later. And that way it's opening up a big a big question of what do we do and how do we do it?
Right. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So what is this trim made of now? Is it like plaster made trim, on-site made trim?
No, it's all solid wood trim.
All solid wood? Okay.
Yeah, but it's all painted. And so we're assuming that it's all painted with lead-based paint.
Yeah.
So technically we're not allowed to remove it without being all
RRP.
suited up.
Yeah.
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 And if the walls are asbestos,
mm-hmm.
which there's a lot of asbestos out here in the Pacific Northwest. So, a lot of times the mud will have asbestos in it. So that's everywhere. All the seams, all the nail holes, everything that happened in our last project. So what do you do? It's like, I mean, do I knock down all of the walls, which means all the trim has to come off, which means that opens up a whole can of worms with the trim. And then even if we take it down, even if it comes down well and we can try to keep it, how do we keep it? Because technically it's got lead-based paint on it. So are we allowed to then put it back on the wall and shoot nails on it? Like,
yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't be allowed to reuse it. I'm sure you can reuse it, but like
then you can't cut it.
Right, but like you said, if it tests positive for lead, then you're gonna have to take all kinds of precautionary measures and everything else.
Yeah. I know what we would do. In the past, no one would care, and they would just take it down and put it up. But now that we know what we know, we want to do it right.
Right, the burden of knowledge.
Yeah, right. What about tools on the job site? So the first thing that comes to my mind when we talk about safety and tools is, what does everybody do the minute they buy a new table saw?
Take all the safety crap
all the safety shit is coming off.
Oh yeah.
So the first thing I think of is like, blades, working with old blades burning and you're excessively pushing, right? That you're just asking to like slip and push your hand right into an old blade. Like, so keep those blades sharp. Sharp blades save lives. What do you think of when I say safety and tools on the job site?
Well, table saw was the second thing I thought of, because you're 100% right. That's the first thing I've done anytime I bought a table saw is, what is all this crazy contraption stuff on top of my table saw? Take it off. I don't want any of it. I want to see the blade.
Doesn't allow. Yeah, it doesn't allow any wood to be able to be used.
Yeah. To me, it looks like it's gonna cause me to get hurt. Like, why are all these pieces sitting on top of a saw? I just like get it out of my way. You know?
And they're all shaped weird, and they're shaped dangerously. They look like knives that are gonna come and
Yeah.
get me, and then they articulate in different ways. And I'm
They're
just,
pretty funky.
for everyone out there, we are all kidding, and we know exactly what they're for.
Yes, but they are pretty funky.
It's funny. Yeah.
But the first thing I
Yeah.
thought was just general tool safety, actually, which I tell my guys all the time. The end of the day, unplug all of your tools, right?
Unplug everything. Yeah.
You're trimming out a house or whatever, and you got your table saw set up. You got your, you get everything plugged into the same little whatever 4-in-1 or whatever kind of surge protector you got, or however you're set up. And you've got your table saw running, you've got your miter saw running, and they happen to have a 5-year-old boy who is very curious and wants to come in and touch and push buttons, escaped mom and dad's oversight for a few minutes, and those things are on, right? So I always say it's not even just a little surge. If you're hooked up to a surge protector or whatever, it's not that being off. It is unplug everything at the end of the day. There should be nothing that could be turned on by flipping a switch, So that certainly is one of the top things on my list. But yeah, other than that,
absolutely. Well, I want to touch on that, especially battery chargers.
Battery chargers, sure.
Especially, you're gonna take your battery off of your drill and throw it on at the homeowner's house. Do not leave that plugged in all night.
Yeah.
Do not.
Yeah.
Those things start a lot more fires than you would think.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, everything gets unplugged.
Yeah.
The only thing that I've kept plugged in overnight was the build clean unit.
Okay.
Because it has that auto feature. But I've done that only on big projects where the homeowners wouldn't be around those spaces, and then I would let them know that that was going to be on all night. So, because it ramps up every once in a while on the auto setting. I've only done that on a couple projects, and honestly, I started to just keep those turned off, even, and just unplug those too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. Call me paranoid, but yeah.
No, I think
no way.
Good. I think that's good practice. I don't think you need to leave those on overnight. You're certainly not generating any more dust overnight. I mean, I get it, having the HEPA filter in there and everything I get it, but I think it's probably, I agree with you, just err on the side of caution and unplug it, leave it off.
Yeah. I got a little pet peeve, and probably I'm gonna it probably started because of you. I think I'm thinking it might be another friend of mine, Mike, is just this stupid utility knife. People put in a nice, fresh, clean, sharp utility knife. They are inexpensive. You are going to cut the living hell out of yourself trying to use these dull blades. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen people cut themselves because they're just fighting the utility knife so much that it ends up slipping and cuts their leg.
Right.
It's like, put a nice one in, fresh. If you're using utility knife that much, daily, every morning, you get to the job site, put your bags on, switch your blade out, get everything nice and clean, sharpen your pencil.
Sure.
Right. You're ready for the day.
Right.
It's going to be a good day.
Throw your bags on and go to work. Yeah.
Good day. Good day, everybody.
I am probably guilty of that. I probably keep most blades too long, to be honest. I used to have
keep it sharp.
Another guy I used to work with used to tell me that with my Sawzall blades all the time, because I would start to use a Sawzall blade and be like, "That's freaking dull," and he put a new blade in, And then the blade that he took off, I would put it back into my Sawzall case. I'm like, what are you doing? I just took it out because it was too dull. And I was like, yeah, but I could use it in a different application. Like maybe I'm just cutting just through drywall with it. I can cut through the drywall with it nice and easy. It's not cutting through all these old 2x10s, but it'll cut right through drywall, no problem. You know? And he's like, oh my God, just throw it out and buy a blade. It's like, I keep
they come in packs of like 100. 100. That stupid 100 pack sits in my truck for like 2 years. It takes me to get through them.
Right.
Come on, people.
Yeah. As far as pet peeves, though, you jogged my memory with the pet peeves. One of mine for sure, and only because this happened to me when I was only doing this for a year or two, I think. When I had a 10-foot A-frame ladder, and I had left a pry bar, mini pry bar that you use like removing like trim and stuff on the top of the ladder.
I know where this is going.
Yeah, completely forgot it was up there. Went to move the ladder just a little bit, and I was just eyes straight forward and moved the ladder just a little bit, and that thing came straight down right into my head, and it was a sharp pry bar, and it cut me. It cut my head open. I was pouring blood. So I always tell everybody that do not ever leave anything on top of a ladder. I don't care if it's a 4-foot ladder. It's just that you're not going to do any damage, but that might fall and hit a floor if you move a 4-foot ladder, and then you gouge someone's floor, right? If you don't have that properly protected. But anyway, it's just that getting in the mindset of don't ever just leave something on a ladder, because you're going to forget it. You're going to go to move that ladder. It's going to come down and clock you right in the head, you know? Yeah.
Oh, that's so true. I've done that 100 times.
Right?
Yeah. You'd think I would learn after the first time. Yeah. Yeah, totally. I got a question for you.
Shoot.
Your extension cord. Mm-hmm. How many splices and how much of it is wrapped in electrical tape?
I don't want to talk about it. There's probably a little bit of electrical tape in there. I've probably replaced either the male or female part on most of my extension cords at some point. Yeah. I'm a little frugal with my tools. That's for sure. Yeah, no.
I have one that I finally took out of service and I'm leaving it in the garage, but for some reason I can't throw it away, and I've cut that thing in so many times, and I've replaced the ends on both sides, everything. It's like, I don't know why I keep cutting this poor extension cord every time I use it.
Why do you hold on to me? It's sentimental value or something? Was it your first extension?
I have no idea. Yeah, it's like my little whoopee. I carry my extension cord around with me.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why. Yeah, you'd think I would just throw it out. I don't know.
You're usually pretty good at getting rid of things. Yeah.
I've bought new ones. So now I'm just collecting extension cords for whatever reason. I don't know. So, yeah. Another thing about extension cord, like that's a safety hazard. That is an electrical safety hazard, and one of which OSHA would ding you for. So even if you do fix the plug, I believe they don't like it. So you kind of have to just buy a new one, from what I understand.
I believe you're right. Yeah, there is something to that. I believe.
Yeah. Also, you're supposed to have ground faults on all your extension cords. So I have a little tiny like extension that you plug in that has its own little ground fault, and then you plug the extension cord into that. And that way the whole extension cord is now ground fault.
Right.
So I have it. I'll be honest, I don't use it all that often. I do use it when I'm outdoors and I know I'm going to be in an outdoor situation for a long time. I will use it. Yeah, just to be on the safe side, in case it rains or water or whatever. Yeah, so keep your power cords in good condition. But I think, what would you say is the most important thing to do for job site safety? Like what, I don't know how to word this properly. What's the safest thing you can do on a job site?
What's the safest thing you can do on a job site?
Yeah, just in your opinion. I have my opinion.
The safest thing. I'm not sure I'm thinking along the same lines. If you're asking what the safest thing is to do on a job site. To me,
Every job site.
one thing, well, I mean, just in a broad sense, is just overall prevention, right? So I would say like an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So just
Sure.
just in a broad sense, the safest thing you can do is just know your job site. So where's the electrical panel in case something goes wrong and you need to turn a circuit off? Where is the water main? So if there's a leak, you know where that water main is and you can run and shut it off immediately. So you're not searching and running around frantic all over the place because you have no idea when you cut into a water pipe. So I think just knowing your job site is probably the most important thing you can do. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you brought up all good points. And we do walk through with all of our trades, new trades, every time they show up on the job site, we walk through here's where this is, here's where that is.
Mm-hmm.
We do all that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Mine is cleanliness. Clean. Just keep everything clean.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so important to being safe is no one's above the broom. I'm sorry. No one is above the broom.
Yeah.
When I was first starting out and I was just, there just to clean up after everybody, help everybody get whatever they wanted, whatever, do whatever I was told. I was constantly told to clean up to the point where I finally was just like, oh, well, if no one's telling me what to do, I'm going to grab the broom and sweep. And I'm just going to keep sweeping until somebody tells me to do something different. And that worked out really well. And I think that's a good mantra for everyone starting out in this industry to don't overestimate or underestimate the broom. It is so important to keep your job site safe, clean.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important. And I think it's doubly important to just don't get into that mindset where you're too good for the broom, because I don't believe that exists. And I believe the owner of the company all the way down to, the new guy that just got hired, they all should be comfortable and happy with picking up a broom and cleaning up and organizing a job site when they see the need for it.
Yeah. I
I'm a
agree.
big component of whatever you're working on, whatever you're doing, do that. You made a mess, and now clean up that mess before you go on to work somewhere else. I know it's not the most efficient. You'll all say that, well, I know a lot of my trades give me a hard time about this. And one particularly that we are phasing out now, mainly because of this, is they just refuse to clean up after themselves because they think it's a waste of time, and their time should be spent doing their trade instead of, keeping the job site clean.
Is it an
It's
electrician?
just like, it's actually a plumber. And it's just like, it's just frustrating.
Yeah. You make a mess, clean
And
it up.
so,
I learned that when I was 7.
yeah,
Yeah.
it just, and it's not only the broom, everybody, it is the having all of these extension cords snaking around all the house. Like, put some thought into this. All right, so where are we going to snake all these extension cords? How are we going to do it in a way which it's organized and not everyone's going to trip on them? And if they are going to be in a spot, let's like make everybody aware that, maybe you can throw a cone on where these extension cords are. Just,
Yeah.
things like that. Just keep them organized so you're not tripping on them either. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
I agree.
Yeah.
And it's like that's what do they call it? The broken window syndrome, right? Like one guy leaves a little mess
Broken window.
and the next guy coming in is going to leave the same mess. Well, it was already messy when I got here. So they're just making more of a mess, making more of a mess. And then no one's cleaning up. And then your entire job site looks terrible. And that leads to all kinds of issues. You know, it leads to things getting damaged. It leads to people tripping over things, and it leads to people getting frustrated because they don't have room to put their tools down somewhere nice and whatever it might be. So, yeah, then there's a number of things that tie into that. So, and that's like, you know, like you said, if you make a mess, you clean it up. If you clean up after yourself and you use the little bit of forethought in that, it's not going to take you long to clean up after yourself. Next guy that walks into a nice clean place, he keeps it the same way. Job keeps running smoothly. Everyone's happy, you know?
Yep.
But,
agreed.
Yeah.
100%.
I'm surprised it was a plumber, not an electrician. It's always electricians. I get freaking wire cutoffs all over the place.
Yeah. A lot of them feel as though they're too good to pick those up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't get it.
You should be happy that they left those behind for you. They're for you.
Right. I'm going to collect a pile of
is there anything
in their truck.
So what do you think we forgot? I mean, I know we are not tackling big industrial, commercial, building brand new houses. We're not in that environment. So there is a lot to talk about: scaffolding and ladders and fall protection,
of course.
Which, by the way, fall protection is the number one killer on job sites. So watch where you're going. There should be guardrails and caps on all your rebar and everything else, but we're not going into any of that. That's just kind of not really what we do most of.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that you think that we should address, or did we miss anything?
I think one more thing I would say is just again, just in a general sense, is just, and we talk about this a lot, but just, you know what you know, right? You know what you know and know what you don't know. And if you don't know, don't touch it. You know, just don't touch it. Call someone who does know. Okay, whether it's your project manager, whether it's the lead guy on the project, whether it's an electrician that you need to call, a plumber you need to call, whoever it might be. If you don't know how that works, don't play with it. Just don't. It's not worth it. You know, because people get too comfortable, or they get, you know, some guys that are learning, at some point you reach that level where you get, you know, some guys will get a little bit of an arrogance to them, but you get that sense of confidence, which sometimes can be a good thing, because you feel a little more comfortable in what you've learned, and you feel like you're contributing and you're doing well, and that's great. But sometimes people overstep that a little bit, and they get a little too overconfident, and that's when people can get hurt too. You know?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, the right amount of confidence is good in all aspects of life.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I don't have anything else. I think we hit it pretty good. I was just kind of looking over the checklist that I have for job site safety, and we touched on enough, I think.
Okay.
Get us started.
Yeah. Yeah. Certainly a topic worth revisiting for sure. We can get more in depth on some stuff, but yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
all right.
Until next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.